Zanitano CHamoru, nirinsciacco diretto girinazzo stata, esti huofit magiging Biblia, that ibenderahu, ibendaren kuahan. Thank you, everybody. Okay, the time is 1:05, and I call our meeting to order. It's the regular meeting for the CHamoru Land Trust Commission. The public notices for today's meeting were published in the Guam Daily Post on April 13, 2023 and April 18, 2023. Notices were also posted online on the CHamoru Land Trust website at dlm.guam.gov, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission's Facebook page, and the Government of Guam's public notice portal at notices.guam.gov. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube at GovGuam Live. The video and audio recording is also made possible by our partners at KGTF. All right. Again, thank you all for joining us today. Commissioner Herrera, proceed to roll call. Thank you. Commissioner Garrido.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Verdalio.
Present.
Our attorney, Attorney Finney. Thank you. And Administrative Director, Ms. Alice Tarrant. Thank you so much. Okay, so our first order of business, just so commissioners know, the minutes were not completed for our last meeting, which I wasn't present, but we will have the meeting minutes for this last meeting and today's meeting in our meeting in May. Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed with the Guam International Country Club. I believe that is to be presented by Mr. Cruz, or would that be you?
Our legal counsel, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So, Joey, if you can please come in. Guam International Country Club has been behind with regard to its payment. There were some efforts to make a payment, which was after January, is my understanding. And pursuant to guidance from council at the time, the checks should not be taken so that there's no misunderstanding with regard to the lease still being valid.
Okay.
So GICC has been delinquent, not just during COVID, but even previous.
Okay.
If you want that timeline, Joey Cruz could provide that to the commissioners. So at this point, right, we are seeking the commissioners' instructions and or guidance with regard to how to move forward, and our recommendation is to provide a 90-day notice and evict. Bring
Okay.
current and potentially and evict.
All right. So let's kind of go through this. I know maybe sometime early last year or late 2021, the commissioners had agreed on a plan that was presented to GICC. And maybe Mr. Cruz, you should join us on this one, just to kind of make sure we're all in sync. And that might have been in 2021. So with that said, when does the lease expire? My first question.
24 is the next expiration. So there was a renewal in 2019, and then the next would be, according to the lease agreement here, I think it's 2024.
I thought we had a few more longer. No, 2039.
2030. That's the
Yeah,
next
sorry.
renewal.
Yeah. So commissioners, the lease is not expired till 2039. I saw that in the details section B in the staff report. Okay. Mr. Cruz, thank you for joining us. Okay, so commissioners, if I could quickly just take the lead in some of the questions, and then if you can, I'll yield to for you some time to ask additional questions. Okay, so Joy, can you remind us the plan that we have put together that we presented to GICC, where we landed with that, and so that we can refresh the commissioners.
So on February 28, 2022, GACC had submitted a payment proposal. In that payment proposal, they were requesting for a 50% rent reduction from March 2020 to December 2022. Also within that payment plan, they had offered to start making payments on January 1st, 2023. When that was presented to the board at their regular scheduled board meeting, I forget what date it was, the board did not accept that plan, but instead they added an additional year to the amortization period for them to repay their arrears.
Okay.
We did not specifically present an amount to be paid monthly for the 3 years for their repayment plan. The reason B is because we don't know Guam International Country Club's financial capability. We didn't want them to fail. So after that, we had informed Mr. Yohei, who is the general manager, through a letter executed by the previous administrative director, Ms. Angela Camacho. The letter was dated April 19th, informing them of the board's decision. On June 21st, 2022, I had sent Mr. Yohei an email inquiring whether they had any response or concerns. On June 21st, 2022, Mr. Yohei had responded to email that reads, since CLTC couldn't accept the rent rate during the terms of the pandemic, we will try to comply with our proposal letter, which was dated on February 28th. On the other hand, we would like to keep on seeking for the possibility that CLTC and related government authorities to give us some kind of rent break. So our interpretation of that email is they didn't accept also what CLTC had commented. I believe it was on February 2nd, I had spoke to Connie and Ms. G from GICC. They attempted to make payment, but we didn't accept it. So, because we didn't want to artificially create an acceptance because of receiving the payment. Yes, the check was dated January 30th, but we had informed Ms. G and Ms. Connie that our accounting system here is not driven by when the check was dated, but when it's received. So technically, it would be after June 31st.
January 31st.
Or January 31st.
Right. Okay. So remind me, so our proposal was a year for the receivables.
Add an extra year to what was proposed by GICC.
Right. And then beginning 2023 to have the regular monthly payments.
Yes, in addition to whatever payment they can make that would apply to their arrears.
For their arrears. Okay. All right, I do want to recognize we do have some members of GICC here. I could ask for one of you to join us at the table. Who would like to join us?
I think.
Okay, sir, you can join us. And then just for the record, speak into the mic if you don't mind. Just state your name and you're with GICC.
Thank you. My name is Yohei Koike. I'm the general manager of Guam International Country Club.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so thank you for joining us today, and hoping that we can come to some resolution, and going through the kind of what Mr. Cruz had just gone through for us, right? Is our initial proposal to add an extra year for the arrears, and then beginning 2023, right? There'll be the normal rent payment plus any of that arrears. Correct. Okay. So I guess before I turn it over to, if you have any questions for us, maybe our commissioners, right? Since we made that proposal, any questions from you and where we're at today?
Do we have the number for the normal rent per month and the arrears number?
At this time, the monthly was $24,044.08.
24,780.
24044.08
That's monthly.
monthly.
Okay.
That's up until, I believe it escalates next year, if I'm not mistaken.
In 24.
Yeah, February 1st, 2024.
Okay, so
Correct.
currently, if they were 24,054, okay. And then what's the total in arrears, Joey, do you have that?
As of yesterday, 4/19/2023, the amount due is $923,719.12.
Okay.
923,719
719.
arrears.
And how far back is that, Joey? What's the time period?
The last payment that was made by GICC was February 2020, I believe. But even after their $10,000 or $14,000 payment, there was still a balance of about $10,000.
Okay, so last payment was at the beginning of our, technically, with some arrears, beginning of the pandemic-ish, right? Because March was when things really escalated. Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, they started paying the 24,044. Was this 2014? Was it 2014? Because this was it's a carryover lease from another lease company.
No,
No? So this lease started back in
2014?
2019.
Are you the initial,
let's see.
Oh, no, the lease was originally 50 years lease,
Okay.
and then we renewed 25-year, in the 25th year, we have to
but you were
yes.
the initial applicant for the lease?
Renewal, yes.
From the renewal.
The initial lease?
Initial lease, no.
Who was the initial lessee?
I believe it was Gus after
Okay.
we started the Guam International
Right.
Country.
And it was, but after that 25-year lease, it moved into,
Even before the 25-year lease ended, I'm assuming the corporation was sold or taken over by once or twice, and now it's
yeah, okay.
And from that time, the 24,045 paid monthly.
No,
No.
Okay.
the 24,000 had commenced February 1st, 2019.
Was that part of the escalation? The annual
Yes.
escalation?
From 2019, Mr. Chairman, until now, they've been behind in payment.
2020,
2020.
February 2020.
February 2020 was the last payment.
I see. And that's when COVID started to come in.
Yes.
But prior to that, 2019 to 2020 was.
Yeah, no, I mean, payments were made, right?
They had made payments, but not full payments. So for example, if they made 10,000 or 14,000 at the end of the month, there was still a balance and then they paid it and so on.
But was he making good faith efforts? Joey, was he making good faith efforts to try and catch up on their words?
There was times, well, after February 2020 payment, no, there was no payment made. Prior to that, there were consecutive months where there was a balance. Like I said, either they made $14,000 payment today and then it carried on to the next month. So there was an accounts receivable, whether it's 25 days, 30 days, there was. So there was never a month, or I need to go back to my records, but from what I remember, there's never a month within maybe even 2019, 2018, and 2017 when actual full payments were made. But I can go back and provide you with a statement that can go back as far as 2015. That's when our system was created.
I'm a little bit concerned about the history, Joey. You said the initial leasing was Gus
After me.
Afterway?
He was,
So how did How did they end up with the lease?
CHamoru Land Trust inherited the Guam International Country Club through law, if I'm not mistaken. It was transferred to us.
But did he have the ability to sublease or sell the lease?
We don't know, but we can go back and verify what we have in file. But there was an exchange of ownership of the corporation. Now, if the law allowed for the takeover, the acquisition of the assets or the corporation, we need to verify. But the name maintained as Guam International Country Club, that's who the lease is with, not the stakeholders or.
So whoever is as part of that corporation at any point is still GICC.
Yes, it maintained as GICC.
Yeah. Any other questions, Commissioners?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any consideration on the 50% rate, monthly rate during the pandemic time?
For all our constituents, there was no rent reduction for anybody. We didn't apply it to anything. It was presented to the board. Everybody except for Mr. Burrito was here who made the decision not to accept a rent reduction, but to extend the amortization period, the repayment period, an additional year. We did present GICC's proposal, but it wasn't accepted by the board.
Yeah, and then Commissioner Brad, I think I'm just kind of recalling our meeting, but I think what we did was to ensure that across the board, right, we didn't do any of those rent reductions per se for our commercial leases and or even our residential, because at that point in time, whatever was existing, we just said our counter to that would be increasing the length of time for the repayment for the arrears. Just to, add that extra repayment.
When you say extend the amount of time, what actually does that mean?
So it's, we would take, if they were to break up their arrears, and we would allow for the repayment, right, with the fact that they would still pay
With
their,
the current,
they remain current
yeah.
for beginning 2023, and then we would take your repayment, say instead of 12 months, we make it 24 months, on top of being current every month. Yeah. That was kind of how we would head.
So
Attorney Kate?
from what I saw, it looked like that their original proposal would be that they would get current by October 2025, and then what the board countered with was that they would get current by October 2026, but that they would have to pay the full amount with no rent abatement, and then that's what then they did not accept.
We didn't accept.
Based on
the
Mr.
plan.
Louis' email on June 21st, 2022, there wasn't an acceptance, but rather they would try to comply with their own proposal dated February 28th.
Okay, if I may?
Yes.
Sorry. I think, I'm sorry for my English. I think there was a miscommunication in that sense. Because when I received this official letter from Mrs. Camacho, April 19, 2022, I never thought from this letter, it says, I'm sorry if I may read this, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission regular board meeting on March 17, 2022. The matter regarding the Guam International Country Club GICC was discussed. Unfortunately, the board did not grant a rent reduction as requested in GICC's letter dated February 28, 2022. The board did grant a rent deferral up until December 2022 with payments commencing on January 1st, 2023. Payments will include the normal monthly lease payments plus additional payment that will be applied to the arrear, which should be paid in full by October 2026. Also, the board will provide a letter of support to increase rates if GICC should decide to do so. So when I received this letter, I am sorry, it was my mistakes. I guess that I had to reply. I had to acknowledge this, but I thought this was already board meeting's decision. So I was very thankful that even though we didn't get discounted, we got deferral. So I talked to the ownership, and then they agreed. And then we tried to do our best to accumulate the payment starting January 2023. So that was our understanding.
Okay.
Our understanding. Sorry, if I had to respond to this letter, which I didn't. I'm sorry about that. But so according to the letter, I wanted to make sure we start payment from January this year. And we, unfortunately, we officially, we hand deliver our January check, plus the partial of past arrear in February 3rd. We brought a check hand delivered here. But if you say 3 days behind, 3 days late is violating the agreement, you are right. But we did our part. We have a record. I don't know if this can be approved or not, but from landline we called January 30th to 11:21 a.m. We called office here to check, to verify our total arrears, plus how much we have to pay for the arrears for January. We wanted to confirm. So we called, but there is no answering. And we, in same day, and 7 minutes later, we called again. We left a message. January 31st, next day, 3:59 p.m., we called again, left a message again. But unfortunately, the phone number we called was old phone number of COTC that we didn't know. And we didn't, I'm sorry, we should have checked the phone number, and we should have known that the director have changed from Mrs. Camacho. But I wrote an email to Mrs. Camacho about this, and February 3rd, that nobody's accepting, we hand delivered it, but nobody accepted, and then we called in January 30th and 31 to make a payment for January, as it says in this letter, but no one could answer. It was answering machine. So we didn't know what to do, so 3 days passed, but I told my accounting people that we have to make a payment. So we came here 3 days later to make a payment, but it was rejected. Yeah. And then same as February, we tried to make a payment, but it was rejected. So we have no choice to send the check, because our attorney advised me that we have to make a proof that we're trying to make a payment. So we sent a certified mail to CHamoru Trust about January and February payment. On top of that, we put arrears on it. But there's rejected, and the check was brought back to us. And after in March, so 28. So actually, we didn't know what to do with this matter, and then now I am here. That I thank you for the opportunity for me to explain our situation, and then I mean I want to fix this as much as possible. So I have brought again today total of $168,136.56 check. This is January, February, March, April monthly rent, plus our calculation, according to our calculation, we amount of arrears earlier Mr. Cruz mentioned is matched with our record. So that if you divide $923,000, 719.12, since Mrs. Camacho gave us a time until 2020 October. So calculating from January 2023 to 2026 October is 46 months. So 923,719.12 divided by 46 months is $19,990.06. So additional to the monthly rent of $96,000 regular rent, we added $17,990.06 multiplied 4. Yes, that is $168,136.56. So I am presenting here our check. I hope you will not reject this and accept this check, and hopefully we will keep on do our commitment and pay every month to CLTC.
Attorney Finney, if we accept, or if we just leave everything as is and honor the board's decision that we made in June, and knowing the situation, right? And they don't have the phone number, whatever the case may be, but here we are today. Could we just honor that, accept the check, and then going forward, right? We hope that it'll remain consistent with the current rent payment plus the division of the arrears up through 2026.
Could you?
Hang on.
You could.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Tyler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before anything is decided, I need to speak on this matter. They were supposed to pay by January 1, 2023. They have been in arrears prior to COVID. Am I mistaken, Joey? Okay, I understand the situation with COVID. Now, I sit here as the administrative director, and my responsibility is to the beneficiaries of CHamoru Land Trust. My responsibility is to those individuals that we are trying to work to correct the problems of the past and get leases out to the people who need them. Now, I spoke with Joey with regard to the calculations. They did not make payment by January 1st. So, I'm not an attorney. Does that not violate the original agreement? One. What I am asking is that the commissioners consider our responsibility to our beneficiaries. I understand the business end of it, and I understand it's a very delicate matter. GICC is in arrears. I would like for GICC to bring current to May 1st all the arrears. They were given an opportunity, an extra year, which was very generous from our commissioners. No compliance. Am I mistaken? No compliance with that. The current, to bring this, as of April 20th, there's a balance of $923,719.12, am I correct? That's just April 20th. That is the arrearage. That is money that the CHamoru Land Trust Commission does not have to be able to use for all the projects that we are required to mandate it to complete. We have no money. We have no money to get these things done, right? So I strongly urge the commissioners to please consider. This is an arrearage, I understand, but my responsibility is to our beneficiaries. We have projects, we need to put in infrastructure. That takes money that we do not have. And for too long, the Chamorro Land Trust Commission has been sacrificed. The beneficiaries of this Chamorro Land Trust Commission, their right to land so that they can build a home and raise their children have been put aside for special interests. I'm not talking about GICC, I'm speaking in general.
General, yeah.
All right? I understand, I get the business part of it, but when? When are we gonna stand up? When are we gonna stand and put our foot down? It's too much, and I will oppose, as the administrative director, I will oppose any leniency for anyone or businesses who have been given opportunities to make wrong right and have not, at the expense of our beneficiaries. I'm not upset. I'm very, I've been sitting here officially for 2 months, and I have seen so much. And I thank the Assistant Attorney General, because I reached out to her and I said, we need to move forward with this. There's been so much wrong done from the past, I have to correct. So much injustice. And this would be an injustice to our beneficiaries. $100,000? I think not. And commissioners, I apologize. I'm just my job here is to protect our beneficiaries, to protect you, and to protect our team who work day in and day out to try and get these projects moving. So I ask you to strongly consider. I am asking as the administrative director that we ask that they bring current to May 1st all their arrears, and that they continue to pay on time. Payment is due by the 1st of each month. If I'm not mistaken, the 1st of each month, no later than the 15th, I will review the lease again. And that if they are delinquent, that we take it to legal counsel. Now, if legal counsel says that is what we can do, then I am asking.
So Administrative Director Tyron, yes, I wholeheartedly agree in the sense that we're here to support and make sure that we can get our constituents with these projects, support them to move into leases. However, the commissioners, we did make this offer and a commitment as well, right? To have a steady revenue, to hopefully get a steady revenue flow every month, and offered the deferral for the arrears, given, again, yes, we all understand the business side of it, and COVID we could not predict. So if there's no business, how would we get our money? However, understanding, right, that we made this agreement, I'm not saying that, I don't think we should go back on our word. I think that we've laid out everything on the table to understand where our lessee stands and their commitment to move forward with a check that gets us through April, right? And of course, we expect May 1, we get a check with your regular rent and your and the arrears, however, whatever that amount, 17,000. I agree, we don't have any money, but for us to do this and cancel it out with the rent payments plus the arrears, we're net, we're still at zero. So where do we go from there to recover, right, this 923,000 by May, which is in 10 days? I'm just trying to, I don't want to be unreasonable in that sense, right? And I do understand that we are here for our constituents, but 100,000 is greater than zero. And if we can get this income every month on the 1st with your 15th of each month, and the commitment at this meeting, right, and not go back on our word, I think I'm okay with it, but again, I'm not the sole voter. It's on our commissioners. So we have two options on the table, I feel, or maybe a third one, depending on what our commissioners decide. But that's my thoughts. Just wanted to throw that out. Commissioner Greer.
Excuse me, sir, what is your name?
My name is Yohei.
Yohei?
Yes.
Yohei, having heard that, what do you have to say?
Yes, I, as a representative of the ownership of GICC, what I can say is that we have over 30 years of our relationship. Of course, I was not the GM of the original lease, but 30 years we had sunny days and rainy days, and which we had 9/11, bird flu, peak influenza, Japan earthquake and tsunami. In that time, all the North Korean resounding, the tourists went up and down. We lost a lot of money, but as Mr. Cruz said, there were times that we couldn't make payment on time. But we, over the 30 years of relationship, we have been doing our obligations. And you guys are very generous and helped us, and we fulfill our obligation. Obviously, novel coronavirus really changed the world, and we all got devastated by this, and we are still heavily devastated by COVID. We're trying our best to survive, and keeping our almost 30 employees in our golf course, and financially supporting more than 100 Guam people from our employees with their families and members. So, I mean, I understand. We couldn't pay during the COVID, but we're not trying to run away for our obligation. Even though we don't making money, our ownership is according to the letter from CLTC. This letter, they're sending us the money every month. They are going to send us money from Japan every month, wire them, and then fulfill our obligation. So that's all I can say as my responsibility as our general manager.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask, what's the total arrears amount?
923
719.12.
719.12.
That's as of April 19th.
What is your revenue stream?
Right now,
Currently.
sir, this is very ashamed to say and keep in the record, but we only have like 3 to at the most 10 tourists every day. That's it. And then because of our fee is regulated by public PUC, we cannot touch to raise local price. So since we are municipal course for the local golfers, we set same, is almost half price of the other golf course on Guam, and we cannot raise their fees. And then it's $35 on weekdays and $41 on weekends. Others over $80 per person. And we have a lot of cost for the golf carts and everything. And then mostly now is the locals, and our revenue is it's around $20,000 a month. And then we are holding almost 30 employees, and we're losing a lot of money, sir.
So with that in mind, are the principals in Japan willing to increase your revenue stream so you can meet your local obligations?
Hoping we can negotiate with PUC to change the rate, to increase a little bit more for the locals rate. But what our owners are waiting is the increase of the tourism. And that was our main stream of income. So hoping that there will be comeback soon.
How far have you gone into the idea of approaching PUC for an increased rate?
Your question is when?
What progress have you made
Uh-huh.
towards approaching PUC for an increased rate?
Yes. Well, we have not approached the PUC for the rent, and yet, previously with Mrs. Camacho, she was willing to help us to approach PUC for the income of JCC, to increase the income. But still, it was a COVID time, and then so we have not make any progress yet.
How long will it take you to mobilize that?
Mobilize. Mobilize means
Approach PUC?
PUC. To be honest with you, sir, I don't have anyone who's in PUC, but I think we should, yes, we should approach them, yes.
I think you should.
Yes.
Anything further, Commissioner? Any other questions, sir?
I need a few minutes,
Okay,
but I have one more question.
sure.
I'll yield to anybody else.
Commissioner Berdaలి, any further questions?
We have to honor what we have said as far as allowing them up to 2026.
I mean, we can take a vote, right? I mean, that's kind of why I feel that we should take a vote to put this to a, make some type of final decision, right, of how to proceed. Because again, we could just honor what we have agreed upon in 2022, right? And hold them, make sure that the commitment is there and that the payments are received on time, etc., right? And then for any reason, if we, if GICC does not fulfill that obligation, then we can come back to the table, right? And yes, did they fulfill their commitment 1/1/2023? Well, it was that Saturday, so they could have get paid it on the 31st of December. But again, I feel that we should honor our proposal. But that's just me. I will yield to make sure that we get the votes in kind of what our decision will be. Commissioner Ritter?
I'm sorry, what was your first name again, sir?
Yohei.
Yohei. Since you're under the microscope, okay, you hear what our director wants, what would you do to alleviate that?
I'm sorry, alleviate these, I'm sorry.
Well, our director is calling for termination.
Mhm.
What would you do to alleviate or to dissuade her from having the lease terminated? What can you do to improve your performance?
Thank you. Sorry for my English understanding. I can certainly discuss this according to the director's opinion. I can discuss this to the ownership, and if they can do something different way.
Well, one would be, will they be willing to accelerate the payback on their arrears?
Yes, including that.
The repayment.
I can
A
discuss.
second thing I would look at is paying on time,
Mhm.
because your January 1st payment was,
Late.
you tried to remit it, but on the 30th,
Mhm, mhm.
okay? So I don't blame CLTC for rejecting it, because they don't want to encourage delinquency.
Mhm.
What else would you suggest that you can do to make things better?
Yes, with my responsibility as a general manager, I cannot speak on behalf of the ownership right now, but certainly I will relay today's discussion and director's opinion, and I will talk with the ownership and try to make him pay more past arrears if that is possible.
Accelerate the arrear payments.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything?
Mr. Chair, may I ask, how much do you charge for tourists? Do you charge the
Yes.
locals for?
Tourists,
for-
yes, for the tourist market, we don't have any cap found by BUC. So usually golf course in Guam, tourist rates differs on the season. Usually in the winter time, prices more, we charge more to the tourist, but in other seasons, we charge less. And for January, February, we charge 159 this year. And but going to off season after February 28th, it's $109.
That would be any tourist either from Taiwan, Japan?
It's same price. But I think if we have a deal with them, if they send by groups, we give them a discount, something like that. We have those kind of set price.
And the local rate at 35 and 40 bucks?
Yes, $35 weekdays and $41. And we have also the senior rates, cheaper than that.
And the volume that flows through your course, it's about 50-50 or 60-40% tourists, local?
Before it was 50-50, before COVID, but now it's 95% local and 5% tourist.
40% tourists.
Yeah, but general number is it's almost there's no tourists.
I have another question. What is your ground maintenance like? I have not been to your golf course, so I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what the maintenance is there.
Okay.
I don't play golf, so.
Oh, okay. I would say we are not, of course, the best golf courses condition because it's a negative flow that low income, low maintenance cost, and then it's been so long that we have our financial is very bad that we had to cut many people, and we have to cut on the supplies as well, and ground maintenance level. Of course, it looks very nice as if you come and see. Yes, I mean we mow the grass, and it's not like a jungle. We maintain nicely, but for the golf course, what they ask for, looking for as a quality, we are not in the best shape, sir.
Okay, since you said that on a measure of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, where do you rate?
Ooh. It's so hard to say because since I'm a general manager, I don't want I don't want to say too low, but I would say 0 to 10, I would say 3.5.
I guess you're being honest.
Any additional questions, commissioners?
No, I think
So again, we can make the decision here. I think it's time we put this to rest. And I shared my sentiments, and I want to make sure that I understand the options that we have. So option one, everything stays the same. We will accept the check, and we will continue to receive payment beginning. So Mr. Yohei, this is through April, correct?
Yes.
This check. So May 1st, May 1st, we should be getting the May payment. Okay. So we keep everything as is, and then they have through 2026 to complete their arrears payment, given what we have as a commission put forth. Second option is, Director Tyron, if you can make sure I don't butcher this, is that we don't accept any of the payments, or if we do accept to continue, that we receive all the arrears by May 1st with current standing. Maybe I should let you state the option.
Bring current all the arrears up to May 1st, and that they continue to make their payments on time moving forward.
So all 923 we want by,
It's actually more than 923. I think we have to add an additional, that's just as of April 20th. So we are now towards the end of April, so they would have to make current all arrears. It would be behind it for April,
up through.
up through May 1st.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, is bring everything to current up to May 1st.
Yeah, their payment for May 1st and all the arrears
Yep.
to May 1st.
Otherwise, we serve a 90-day eviction.
The 90 days is actually to allow them to bring it current, correct? Kristen, it's to bring it current. We would write a letter to them to bring everything current. We give them 90 days to do it. But since May 1st is next week, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say May 1st is next week.
Okay, we'll give them the 90 days to bring everything current. Moving forward from there, they need to be current with their payment.
Correct. So complete arrears. Okay, all right. Commissioners understand that option
Option 2
is complete, bring arrears up through the letter that we serve. They have
We'll give them 90
days
days to make current.
to make current, but be current with payments beginning May.
and accept the 168.
You know, we don't accept it until they become current and make the arrears. Mr. Cruz?
Right, I think if when the 90 days is served, if I'm not mistaken, and Attorney Finney can correct me if I'm wrong, because they're given 90 days to become current, we can accept that check, but on the 90th day, if it's not paid in full, they pay down their arrears, but we still move to terminate it. That's what the board is gonna decide. The 90-day period is their grace period to make payments as much as they could to pay down or to cure their default. So if they wanted to make that payment, even knowing that, I don't see why we can't accept it.
Okay, but so we're giving them up to 90 days versus up to 2026. I
And
mean,
accepting the
check. Now, again, I don't want to go back on my words. You guys know where I stand, but I'm going to put the vote to the commissioners.
Before we vote, I want to ask my friend here, my new friend. If we go with option 1, I want to put you in a probationary period to make sure that your performance meets every deadline.
Mhm.
And I think maybe 6 to 9 months probation.
Yes,
Probation, so Commissioner Garrido, probation meaning
We're
that
watching him
we
To
should get that
perform.
check every
Yes,
month
yes.
on the first.
on time
Yes, okay,
with the arrears.
yes, with whatever
The
has we have
arrears that
agreed
you
upon.
guys have
yes.
put on the table last year.
But that's gonna be an amendment to what we've already,
Yeah, you have
done,
the
but we're
amendment,
just.
the number
yeah.
one.
We're just saying that in addition to what we wanna make sure that with, you know, in a 6-month window, we continue to receive your payments on
It
time.
can be 6 or 9 months.
Yeah.
To me, I like it to be extended longer, that way we watch his performances longer.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Chair, whatever the board decides, may I ask that legal counsel review, put everything together for their signature and the board's signature?
Yeah, so
Whatever it is
and
that
that's
the-
the other thing, right? So we said that we wanted them to acknowledge, but we never, there was no call to action in that letter. So I have to also, that was kind of back, in the back of my mind. That we didn't say GICC, yes. GICC, you need to reply accepting the board's. Again, again, it could be a technicality, but there's no call to action from GICC, or am I missing something?
We did reach out to GICC to inquire if they had any concerns
Okay.
on,
Like, after we sent the letter, right? After April, yeah. So again, we did call and reach out, okay, that's fine, but did we, to the director's point, did we say, here's our proposal, we need you to sign off on it so that you acknowledge the agreement, so. Okay, Commissioners, I think we've spent enough time on this. Let's put some clarity on our options. Option 1, everything remains the same. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Oh, okay. Everything remains the same with the proposal that we had put forward in that last year. We accept the check and that GICC has to come and make sure that they make their payment on the first of every month. Okay, we can add Commissioner Garrido's suggestion that, you know, you cannot be late. And just period, you cannot be late. I don't think we put a window, a time box, is you will not be late. If you're going to be late, we make that call and set the expectation of why but you cannot be late, right? Because you have up to the 15th technically. Yeah, no time box.
sir, if I may, if, I don't know how the board is gonna go, but if it's option 1, we add more teeth to it. Because how are you gonna hold Mr. Yohe accountable for not being late, other than telling him not to be late?
Well, we're gonna come back to the table and say, okay, you're late, and this is now we're gonna move forward with plan B.
Understood, but then we have to give him another 90 days as what's required in the lease agreement. I don't know, but Christian can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we maintain the 90-day period, for example, right? Mr. Yohe is given the opportunity to, I guess, make his payment and his monthly payment and the arrears. But in the event that he does not comply with the 1st to the 15th, what's gonna be the immediate action of the board? Because we're gonna come back again to the board again and sing the same tune. So how would we immediately address it?
Yeah, so the first, okay, I'm really not trying to make this very, I don't wanna make this complicated. The first day payment comes back to the board and we then make that decision. I mean, we're extending we're holding to our word, and we're hoping that the commitment is there. The fact that we have a check, we're gonna take the check. May 1st is coming, we're gonna get another check. The first late payment, so Mr. Yohe, the first late payment, we're gonna come back to this table.
okay.
And I don't think there's gonna be any more concession.
Just one thing. I know you mentioned a number, which you divided by 48 or 44. Is that going, 46, is that gonna be their proposal that they're gonna pay towards their arrears? Or are they gonna escalate it as?
I think we keep it as is, and if they escalate and they get more, then we accept it,
Oh,
right? Because it's arrears, we're reconciling what is defaulted. But again, we'll just be very clear here. First late payment, we're back at this table. And Joey, I mean, I'd say, you know, making sure that the number of months is, we're all aligned with what that is, and get another letter out if that has to be the case. But I just want to make this decision to make sure that we're moving forward. That's the plan.
Mr. Chair, may I just remind the board, and for legal counsel as well, that everything that's discussed and any action that's taken needs to be written into the current lease between GICC and CLTC. That whatever the legal terms may be, whatever the best legal course of action, language to be written and put into the lease, so that the commissioners are not in violation of any agreement.
Yeah, because when you were saying before that you wanted me to, you know, write something up, I was envisioning that whatever the commission decides, we would write that up as a payment plan proposal, sent to them, they accept it, they'd have to sign off on it, and it sounds like one of those terms of that payment plan would be that they would have to pay by the first of the month, and then if a payment is not received by the first, then all the arrears would be immediately due, and, you know, the director would send the 90-day notice or whatever. So that would all be part of the payment proposal.
Yeah.
I just want to protect the commissioners, so that whatever it is that's voted on, that legal counsel reviews it, it's written up in whatever legal lease there is, and attached to the current lease agreement.
Yes, understood. And it'd be just, so be it, there's an addendum to that. Okay, commissioners, I really think we spent more than enough time on this. So could we please, so we have an option, a decision to make with GICC. Option one is we stay the course of what we had committed to, with the additional verbiage to this agreement with the payment plan in document, in writing, and the additional legal terms with the payments need to be made on the first of each month, and with any late payment after the grace period, we take the necessary next steps. Necessary next steps, basically.
Is there a grace period?
Yes, up to the 15th. Up to the 15th. Yes, and that's in their contract. Second option is, Commissioner Verdad.
Sounds like a promissory note. Legal counsel.
Just
Make one up.
a payment plan.
A document that we have reference to, that both sides agree. Option two is that, and Alice, make sure you keep me honest here. Option two is that we notify GICC to bring everything with a 90-day window, to bring everything to current, and make sure that the monthly payment that's owed is current after that 90 days has been served. Correct? Okay.
And then we come back to the table, should they be?
Should they be with the arrears
Yes.
too?
Basically just following the lease agreement.
Yes. Okay, understood. Okay, commissioners, may I get a motion? And then we can vote, and then if that fails, we can get another motion or have the discussion, or, you know, I really hope to come to a decision this afternoon.
I would like to make a motion on option one, simply because it's more realistic with the conditions of what's happening in their country.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Medalio. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Guido. Any objections?
No objection.
None.
Okay, hearing none, motion passes. That we, for the option 1, which is to honor what has been decided on by the board, with any additional legal terminology that, and payments have to be made by the 1st of each month. Okay, thank you, commissioners.
Mr. Chair, legal counsel needs to
Yes.
leave. There's a public hearing on abandoned vehicles. We were just asked to attend today.
Yes.
So legal counsel needs to leave to attend that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here for this one. Okay, commissioners, thank you, Mr. Yohe, thank you, GICC representatives. Okay, I know we do have GWA present with us.
So are we supposed to receive that check?
Oh, yes, Mr. Yohe. Please drop off the check in the front. Yes, thank you. Okay, I know we have GWA present with us, so I'm gonna go ahead and move over to the new business with the Atacao Water and Sewer Infrastructure Project. Commissioners, we will go back to number 2 and number 3. I just wanted, our guests are here.
I'll just give an introduction.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks back, this is Maureen McDonald. She is the current acting assistant general manager of the engineering department. And she's also.
And Ms. McDonald, just for the record, if you can please state your name.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman Regis and Commissioners. My name is Maureen McDonald. I'm Guam Water Works Authority's Assistant General Manager of Engineering. And I'm here today with GWA Project Engineer George Watson and our design engineer Ken Rectal from DCA Engineers.
You can join us if you'd like, if not,
Yes.
then yes.
Just pull up a check. Yeah, so we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with Guam Water Works, and the project basically, which is actually good news for CLTC, is to bring water and wastewater infrastructure to the doorstep in Atacao, for the areas up in Atacao. So I'm gonna have, Maureen has a presentation, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
slideshow?
We weren't able to use the TV at this
Oh,
point, so
okay.
you have handouts in front of you, and we can just walk through it. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know, and we can be happy to provide that information to you. So this is the Water and Sewer Infrastructure Capital Improvement Project. If you turn the page, you'll see a map of Atacao, Manila, and it's located near the back road to Anderson Route 15 and Carnation Road in that Manila area. And you'll see a call out if you're familiar with the Atacao Elementary School. The land trust properties are near that area. And on your map, you'll see the land trust properties outlined and shaded in yellow. So some of these areas have water lines. They may be 6-inch, 8-inch, or 2-inch, but these areas do not have sewer lines.
Will your sewer line be extended to Golden Cupid Road? Or is that where you're tapping off from?
We would be connecting, not towards Golden, let's see, let me make sure I have a map there.
Golden Cupid's at the end of your shaded, your yellow shaded area.
Okay, so I believe it's the,
That comes out at Laddie.
If I may.
Laddie's,
right over
yeah,
here.
yeah,
And then there's another road over here.
yeah.
So we would include those locations in the project.
So they would benefit from it.
Correct.
Optional?
All right, if you turn the page, now this stems from GWA's 2021 cesspool and septic tank elimination study, where we looked at buildings that were not connected to the public sewer system and instead served by on-site wastewater systems. So these would be your septic tanks and leaching field systems, your cesspools, and your holding tanks. And these types of facilities basically would allow discharge to the groundwater, discharge containing whatever you would find in whatever goes down your drains and your toilets, biological, chemical contaminants, such as nitrates, personal care products, and medicines as well. And as many of us know, in northern Guam, anything that goes into the soil, into the ground, will end up in our aquifer and potentially serve as a contaminant for our drinking water source to our northern Guam aquifer, our primary source of drinking water. So what this project aims to do is connect these homes to the public sewer system to eliminate cesspools and septic tank systems so that we can protect our groundwater source and protect public health. All right, so you have some pictures on the side.
Are there going to be any pumps put in?
Yes, yes, we do need to put in or construct a sewer pump station because of the elevation in that area.
And you'll be tapping off Macheki Road?
We will be connecting to the existing sewer, like at the top of Michechi Hill. Yes. So if you turn the page, that study that GWA completed in 2021 included ranking areas around water wells based on the highest nitrate concentrations, because nitrate levels can have an adverse and acute effect on human health. So we collaborated with the Water and Environmental Research Institute at the University of Guam and reviewed well nitrate concentrations from 1986 to 2019. And based on that, we were able to predict 2029 nitrate concentrations. So we forecast into the future and ranked wells according to those forecasts. In the Atacao area, we have 7 GWA production wells, and 6 of those are the highest on the list. And those are the ones that are highlighted on the table in front of you. The safe drinking water standard established by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is 10 milligrams per liter. What we're seeing now is nitrate levels at around 5 milligrams per liter. So we're safe now. It's safe to drink according to US EPA standards, and we're getting that respect, but we want to make sure we're proactive and keep the water safe. We don't want those nitrate levels to increase further than they are already. Moving along to the next page, you'll see another map of the Atacao area. The blue boxes that you see with the P, letter P inside, will be the location of the production wells that are, 6 of them are identified on the prior table. The yellow shaded areas are CHamoru Land Trust properties, and you'll also see the groundwater flow direction. So in all these areas, basically we're looking at unsewered areas, all these water wells, and rising nitrate levels at those water wells. So that is the impetus for this project. On the next page, you'll see what Commissioner Garrido was asking about. We have shown here, it's very busy, I apologize for that, but we outlined where the gravity sewer force mains, and the water mains will be located in these areas. So there will be a sewer pump station. This is an example of where it might be. We have to still identify the most appropriate place for it and identify land that we would need to purchase in order to construct the station. And this project is funded by an American Rescue Act grant through the governor's office. So we're very, very happy and blessed to have that funding, especially since this grant, as Director Tyron identified earlier, will allow us to install pipes on private property. Normally, our funding sources only allow us to stay on public right-of-ways or public easements, and we can't go onto private lands.
Mhm.
But because of the characteristics of this grant, we're able to go onto private property and install piping connections there.
I just have a question on this thing, if I may.
Yes.
Down here in the furthest corner from the school, on the red, I don't know if that's a sewer or gravity sewer, but you've got arrows going down this way. And then from that corner there, you've got arrows going up, and they meet at midpoint.
There are.
What does that mean?
So we need to drain, I apologize, sorry, let me see if I can do this upside down. Oh, thank you, George. So we have a larger map here, and the area
It seems
that
like
you're
you got-
referring to
You
is
got
this
them
location
butting
over
into
here.
each other there.
Right, we've got, this is,
You're
you
I
can see,
can follow.
you can see, all right. So in this area here, we have a higher elevation, so we're gonna have gravity mains drain down towards the school in this area. Some areas may have to drain this way and then across. And again, this was a conceptual design.
Yeah.
we still have to get elevations, which Mr. Rectal will be leading the charge on, and identify the most appropriate place for the pump stations, for the sewer lines, and for the water lines. So it looks like we have arrows crisscrossing, but there was a method to the madness when we created the conceptual design, so that they met and then they crossed over the lot that is abutting the school grounds, going over towards the Golden Cupid Road area, and then draining back down to an area where a pump station would be located.
Yeah, so your pump station is there at Golden Cupid?
That's a proposed location. There's a couple locations where they're looking at potentially having the pump station. So like Mo was just saying, most of the arrows is just based off of elevation, that when we use LiDAR or whatever the case may be, that's where the elevation is and how it would naturally flow. Granted, like Mo mentioned, most of this is gonna have to be verified, field verified by the designer when they're out there, when they do the survey work, and based off of that, there will likely be changes, but this is a conceptual design based off of.
Understand what we have today.
Yes, a tabletop exercise basically.
Understood.
All right.
No, I think you have the,
I had one question.
Sure.
And maybe this is more for our team, but all the areas that are highlighted in yellow, right, as CF2C property, do we know how much of, how many constituents we already have in there?
So Joey and the team pulling that information together, we do have
I
several.
mean, this is like huge news for them, plus it'll also then allow us to make sure that these properties are ready for additional leases, right, that we're working on. And this will be now priority one of where to put leases on, right, because now they have the infrastructure.
Yes, so Joey, when we met, I think we were working on the schemes for that, the schematics for it,
Right.
and we're coordinating. There's already a list that was provided to Guam Waterworks, and right, with regard to current lessees there, I think there's about 100 or so,
Yes.
right? He has about 100 or so, and so we're gonna update the list.
Right,
Joe.
and then I know, sorry, just one more thing, I know that there's gonna be potential issues in these areas, right, for, more so for our constituents, making sure that they're in the right spots, so we'll also wanna make sure that we are ready to figure that out once the project starts, because I wanna make sure that our constituents are in the right spots, but also any new leases that we issue, right, that it's ready to go. And now we can decrease the property lot size now that we have sewer.
Yes.
Yes,
All good stuff to look forward to.
good, good.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
We're working on that, yes.
Yes. So, nearing the end, the next page on the presentation, when we met with Allison and other folks from Land Trust, we talked about these and impacts, not just to Land Trust customers, but also to the homeowners that are along Golden Cupid Road on other portions of private property. So the American Rescue Plan Act grant will pay for the sewer connection costs
to existing residents.
for existing residents that are legally there. So that's something we're gonna be
That's a
working
very
through. Yes, one of the conditions that we understand we may be facing when we hit the field and actually start the work and contacting homeowners and making sure that we're talking to the right people on the correct lot and so forth. So we have a deadline of December 2024, which is very aggressive. And we are committed to making sure that we spend the ARPA grant funds accordingly, and looking at especially putting the construction on the private property lots, because this is the only grant we have that we can avail of that opportunity. Because new customers will have monthly water and sewer charges. We do have some water customers there already. I don't think all of the folks that are living there have water meters. It didn't appear that way based on the records and what we could tell from the aerials. But that's something everyone has to deal with when they open an account and they have utilities. Additionally, there's a system development charge, which is a one-time cost that applies to customers that applied for services after March 1, 2010, but GWA does have payment plans available. We have financial assistance, so we're gonna do what we can to provide that assistance to folks so they don't have that initial financial burden.
What is that initial charge?
For both water and sewer combined, for residential folks that open up an account now, after that March 1, 2010 date, it's $5,600. It is a lot up front, but again, we do have payment plans. They're able to take out loans with GWA, they put a down payment on the loan and they pay monthly payments thereafter.
How is that based?
It's based on water meter size, the system development charge cost. So the smaller the water meter, and this is to defray additional operating costs, such as we need more chemicals for the water system when we add on new customers, so that we make sure we disinfect the water so it's safe to drink. We'll need more we'll have more operational costs on the wastewater side, dealing with increased wastewater loading and so forth. So that is a one-time cost.
And will that also be a part of like the system and maintenance of those new water wells that are being, right?
Yes.
So all of that,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, so all the impacts that adding new customers will have on the existing system.
And the SDC, or the system development charge, it's broken down into two parts, right? So there's the water meter SDC and there's also the wastewater SDC. So some of the folks out there may actually already have done the water side of it. Not all of them will, because there's some areas here that don't have any water. So if they're previous to 2010, March 1st, 2010, and they have a water meter, they won't have to do the wastewater SDC.
Yes.
If they're after that, but they do have a water meter, they'll still have to do the wastewater SDC, which is $34.74. And if they don't have either one of them, then they'll have to do the whole 56 and change.
So it's 56 for both water and sewer?
Correct.
And
I
so
thought it was just for water.
sorry, Commissioner. So we would then make sure that all our lessees are well aware, you know, of this and be able to prepare and whatever assistance that you guys may provide. Okay, that's
Okay.
great news.
And that's a great segue into the last page, where we're talking about our partnership. We are working on a draft memorandum of agreement, so we identify responsibilities for both CLTC and GWA. We're also asking for a right of entry to get onto the lots in order to do the survey and the investigations. We don't know what we're gonna find in terms of structures. A lot of them may not have building permits, so we're not sure if the piping, if they do have the water piping on site, if it's safe for drinking water use, so we'll have to do testing. There's a number of investigations we have so that we don't make a difficult living situation unsafe for the customers.
Right. Understood.
All right?
Okay.
Okay, and we did talk about outreach, so we'll be identifying the plan for that. GWA will be providing flyers and handouts. For every project, we walk door to door for the directly impacted customers, homeowners, and business owners, if there are businesses in the area. So we're used to doing that. It's one of our normal, it's a normal part of our procedures to start a project. We've already reached out to the Manila mayor and have the mayor's interest and support. And then also, again, just, we need to move forward. One of our additional items to address would be the strategies for these various homeowners and conditions that we know we're gonna find, so that we have a plan, and we can present that plan to the homeowners and try to answer as many questions as we can up front.
And now with that, right, I'm sure we'll see a lot of our constituents come through and our team will have to be ready to answer some of those questions that may arise, given what we find. Okay. All right. So the MOA is being worked on between both legals, so that's not any of ours at this juncture,
Yes,
right?
legal counsel has it,
Okay.
she's reviewing it,
Alright.
and she's gonna reach out to their legal counsel.
Okay. And is the only action for the board this afternoon is just to provide the right of entry? Yes.
Permission for right of entry, yes.
Yes, okay. All right.
I have a question. What is your
Yes,
next
sir.
target?
We are
We have more
going
property in Chico.
Yes.
Yes.
Joey has already asked us about that.
I will offer up
He's
Chico,
lining
I will
up the
offer
areas.
up in Araha.
Yes.
Yeah, and down south links it too. Malolo.
Yes, so our next project is gonna be Gilbreeze,
Right.
and that's going to be the next one to advertise to get an engineering design going, get me started with that. And then after that, everything from the the cesspool and septic tank elimination plan is based on wellhead protection and safeguarding the drinking water and the groundwater. So the next location would likely be the Chalinbada, Machinao area up in Dario.
So you're focusing up north right now?
Yes, we're looking at
Because of
when the
the
wells are
population.
The
impacted.
aquifers.
Population with the
Well,
aquifer mainly.
Yeah, and we have a lot in, so, shameless plug, we have a lot of property up in the north, so please seek out to the team, because they can tap directly in the right direction.
Did you do a study with the aqueduct in California?
Oh, yeah, no, that was a long time ago.
I know.
Yeah. Maybe. So
Sorry,
if you want, I could just give a short update on where we're at, because we were given notice to proceed 3 weeks ago.
About,
Yeah. Our survey crew has already been out to areas where we can properly go to. We've completed that. We're ready and willing, as soon as we understand all this has to be cleared, but we're excited to work with you all to go home, because normally we don't survey onto the private property. This is unique where we can go in, but we're gonna need your support, and I think we have it. I just also wanted to share that we're considering a drone, just because we can, but it kind of will, while we're waiting for all this, maybe it will help us get a little bit of a bird's eye advanced view. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because if you get calls by someone saying, or we're worried they're gonna shoot it down or something, but we're gonna give it a shot.
We can't control that, not those
Yeah, no,
people there in that area.
some of those back areas.
Well, we think it'll be, we understand, but we're gonna try it anyway, just to.
yeah, well, I think everything we're doing is obviously a step in the right direction, right? So we appreciate the partnership. I think the MOA, that shouldn't be too burdensome with our legal, and I think it's our job as the commissioners to give you that right of entry, because this is only going to benefit our constituents, with more to come, we hope, so.
This is actually our mission statement, residential. So your plan to augment it by putting in sewer, you have my vote.
Thank you, Commissioners, and we're very excited, and it won't just benefit the land trust tenants in the area
Yeah,
and the
it's
future,
all
it's
private.
Yeah, you're
everyone
going
that's
after,
gonna
you're
get
going
water
after
from
Golden
those
Cube,
wells.
which is out on its own there. Those are private landowners there.
Correct.
And these are ideal locations, where we have our properties, and I just think that it just now allows us to shrink the size, because now we have sewer, right, which would allow for more.
Water too, right? This project also has new water lines going in, so.
So a lot of the water lines in this area where the wells are at, there's 7 wells like Mo said, we have water lines to those areas, but like I said, a lot of this back area over here, they don't have any. So these guys are folks that are having to go to the mayor's office and get water, so they'll be able to actually have the water now.
Well, it's a good project.
Yeah, no, I'm in full support, so, I guess without further ado, Commissioners, may I get a motion to, provide right of entry for the get the right wording, Attica Water and Sewer Infrastructure Capital
I move.
Project. Okay. May I get a second?
Second motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera, any objections?
None.
Hearing none, motion passes for, the right of entry for the Attica Water and Sewer Infrastructure Capital Improvement Project.
Thank
Okay,
you very much.
thank you guys so
We're very
much.
excited.
Yes.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners,
When do
we will take a quick 5 minutes. I do want to get through number 2 and 3 in our old
You're
business.
Melinda's counterpart, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, the time is 2:34, quick
Retired
5
from
minutes.
GP.
Thank you.
Glad that you have, GP had it first.
Yes.
Are you on live?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, thank you, commissioners. We are back. Time is 2:44. Okay, I would like to take up the next item on the agenda, back to the old business. In designating the lot 7161R1, the municipality of Chigo for commercial use. So this 7161 is the raceway, the current raceway, right? And we all know where we stand with that. Ms. Tyron, could you remind us, what's the date in which the,
GRF,
yes,
sleep, I believe it's June 2nd.
June 2nd, right?
Mhm.
You
They should
gave
be out of
them-
there by June 2nd.
Okay,
yes.
all right, just wanted to make sure we covered that. So commissioners, right, as part of our job when we kind of take back land that was designated outside of us issuing the lease, right? It was done through legislation.
Yes.
So we need to then start from step one. And step one is to, it's the termination of use, I believe is the
No,
terminology,
designation,
or is it
it's a designation.
designation of,
Of the, of the property
zoning.
as commercial,
Okay.
right, the zoning, as a
And then-
commercial zone.
after that is then we go into the determination of use.
Not yet. What will
Mr.
happen?
Cruz, please join us at the table.
We have to go through a public hearing.
Okay. I just wanna make sure that the commissioners know this, we're kind of aware of, at least the steps after we did, designate this for commercial use, yes.
So what will happen is, after that, we will hold a public hearing. We will gather all the community comments, report it back to the board. If the board should proceed with declaring it for commercial use, it will be done through resolution.
Okay.
After that, we package everything and send it to the legislature. They have 60 days to hold another public hearing or do what they deem fit to do with it. If on the 60th day, 61st day, and there's no action on the part of the legislature, it automatically grandfathers for commercial use, and then we go through the RFP process.
Okay, got it. All right, so Commissioner Greer?
How much of that lot are we going to designate for commercial?
The board can, because right now, the lot is known as lot 7161-R1.
Yeah,
So it's the remainder, I think there's like 200, 250 acres out
so
there.
it's the entire lot.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the entire R1 lot. So if the board decides that they want to sever out so many acres, you can, but just remember it's gonna come with a cost. Because in order to designate, then we have to start it over again, because now the property has a new description.
Well, right now, the zoning of that is A,
Yes.
and it's being used as commercial because of the legislature.
Yeah.
They gave them a variance.
And within our RFP, there'll be something stated to the effect that the commission will allow for rezoning. So then whoever is the successful bidder would have to go through the GLUC or planning to get a conditional use or rezone it or whatever.
The onus will always be at that point, the lessee with those agreements, yeah. So,
Can
I'm
I
sorry.
just give my opinion of what my vision is on that? I would like to see the road 15 frontage rezoned into commercial. I would like to see the back lots zoned to R1. Right now, that area there in the back lots are fairly level, and it would be ideal for housing, residential housing, which is our mission, right?
Yes.
It will come with a cost.
I know, but I'm just giving you what I think my vision is for it. And at the end of the day, we accomplish the rezoning. If, I don't know if it's us that's gonna do it or we're gonna put it on the tenant, but piecemeal it and see if we can send out a bid request to use the property for like maybe the drag strip association or the drag racers association might want to lease the drag strip portion. And then the off-roaders could lease because the facilities are there. And it's easier if we parcel it and find tenants for each of those special parcels. Then, because really, Guam does not need a Grand Prix. We don't even need the Smoking Wheels. That's an event that occurs once a year. You know, the only one that's used there a lot is the drag strip. That's used like on a weekly basis, right, normally?
Yeah, weekly, weekend.
Yeah.
So just to add to that, right, Commissioner Good, I think there is still, we can still afford the opportunity for whoever the conductor may be, the operator, to have those sporting events that, you know, are ATV, biking related, right? And I mean, I don't think it's a bad option to parcel it, right? It's big, right? So parcel it where, you know, at the end of the day, the backside, part of the backside still you can use your ATVs, and then the front side or the side is the drag strip, right? But, and even with the drag strip, again, it is a good place to have it, but there's no safety, right?
Yes.
It's still very scary.
That's why I don't understand how that was allowed in the first place.
Based on the documents that you see there, that was only the temporary drag strip.
Correct, yeah, because it was gonna,
So they were gonna tear that
Scale.
down
yeah,
and then make a permanent.
yeah.
My perception, after reading your 400-page Bible and these, that was a pseudo drag strip to give him the opportunity to mine the minerals. And then you just say, oops, we need to bring that down now.
So,
Because he used that oops a lot in the 400-page. And he did it also in the Department of Land Management. I read a lot of the oops, and then there was a lot of oops with, I'm sorry to say, GIDA. GIDA was allowing it to happen without proper or sufficient justification. And they were cited by the auditor.
and as the director mentioned, right, there was a lot, we at the last meeting know that the OPA is looking into this. And that's working alongside Joey, and then they're gonna have, they have access to all of this. So I guess at the point of where we're at is, do we designate the entire thing for commercial?
Can I say something
Yes,
first?
yes, Commissioner.
What's the total acreage for that?
200 or 250.
Okay, can we have a survey done as to the drag strip and,
To parcel it out like that?
yeah, sort of,
To understand where
yeah,
how big is each
yeah,
section
before we can,
designated?
yeah.
Okay. So when we think of, okay, so let me ask the question. When we think of surveying of where things exist today, we have to pay for that, correct?
Yes. If possible, some consideration could be given to just scheming the area. Meaning just a tabletop, not an actual
Yeah,
full
yeah,
blown survey.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Now, when you say scheming, is it by drone?
No,
doing points?
just a tabletop.
A
But-
table survey.
Table survey, but how do you know, and maybe you have to educate me, how do we know this is exactly the,
We
For the
can
drag
go out
strip
there and
is-
GPS it.
Okay.
And then they can take the
Got it.
coordinates from the GPS and then plot
Okay,
it in and stuff
Okay.
like that. But we would need to ask for assistance.
with land management?
okay? I mean, I'm open to that, right? I mean, we have to June, but that's not a lot of time. We know what, and this process in and of itself. Then we move to number 3. Then we have this bill, right, from Senator San Nicolas, okay? Bill,
St. Nicholas, Parkinson, and
Yes.
Kenyatta. and
We-
San Agustin.
it's to take this land and give it to Parks and Recs, yes?
Correct.
Okay,
I object.
flat out, and this is, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Well, I like to say something since we're here at this beginning portion. Parks and Rec has no mandate to lease.
Right. And-
They have
and-
no mandate to lease.
Or if they take this and move it into their inventory, we're not gonna go without a fight, right? I want them to pay us the fair market value as how we're going to approach this now going forward of that piece of land.
But you know, Parks and Rec was picked specifically because there's no accountability.
And they don't clean their darn place.
There's no accountability.
Okay, so,
Sorry,
so
but
given,
Henry
Worse
Watson,
than-
I hear
you
you.
won't even have to make an excuse for why things are falling apart or whatever.
So I will, I mean, for the record, I don't support this bill.
I don't
No,
support it either, I'll
is it-
stand up against it.
I'll
Yes.
stand up
And I
against.
feel that as a commission, right, we come as a united front, and, you know, I think one of the recommendations is to put a resolution out there to send down to the legislature, right, that we don't support this bill. Again, it's not about not supporting the recreational activities that happen there. It's just not supporting the
ownership.
process of getting an operator, the process of managing this land, the process of making sure that we get the right
We
rental lease
We
agreement out
have to make sure that in that resolution that we indicate that the current manager or overseer or president of that
there.
facility
The operator,
was the reason for the eviction. Not the activities that occurred there, meaning
Yeah.
the sports-related activities. He's guilty of excavating minerals. And he never had a feasibility study, because that will tell you where your financings are coming from. I'll tell you where his financing are coming from, the Cascao. He never had skin in the game. He had no money in the game. It was all stolen from the people of Guam.
so so I guess what I'm hearing, right, is we won't make that designation, or we won't proceed with the designation. Let's come into our next meeting, Joey, with the tabletop scheme and understanding the size of each of the
lots.
lots of where things are happening today.
So, just so we understand correctly, so we could GPS the area and maybe like 20, 30 feet from
Yeah.
the actual, like for example,
It's an
the drag,
approximate.
the
Yes,
drag
plus or
strip.
minus, yeah.
Yes, and then there's the drifting area,
Mhm.
and then, if I'm not mistaken, because we went up there, there's a
Go-kart.
go-kart area,
Yep.
and then to the right of that, we're gonna assume that's the off-roading.
Off-roading ATV area.
But that also goes on the back side of the drifting area. So we'll try to, it'll become like a U or something,
Yeah.
just so.
And then there's also the place where they kind of terrain through to go to the overlook of looking out of the
That's
cliff
the
sides of the
backside.
water, right?
That's
Where
for
it's
Guam
still-
Adventures.
Yeah, it's not cleared, it's still trees and brush.
Which
Um,
one?
Who is running the Guam Adventures?
We don't know, but we do know.
Because he's not allowed to sublease.
But unfortunately, what had happened is many boards ago, the board had approved them to operate. Our concern was, yes, they approved it, but there was no amendment to the lease.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, there was no dollar figure attached to their operation. But if you read in the Bible, it says how much they have to pay and even a percentage of their GRT filings. So that's one of our concerns that we had to.
Well, there's no lease today, right? We know where we stand. We allowed them to have smoking mills, right? There's still some fees that we would gain from that, right, Joey? Technically?
Yes, and that's something we want to also bring up. So, we haven't invoiced them since the termination. If the board decides, we will continue to invoice them, so they'll owe for maybe like 3-4 months.
Yeah, up to the termination, yes.
Okay.
It's business as usual up to termination, which also means that smoking mills, there's a dollar figure for every person that goes into that event.
It's 10%.
Yeah, so we should recoup, we should be able to get that, and they should be able to also tick and tie how much tickets they've sold.
Which was more beneficial to the CLTC, 10% or half of the admission gate?
We never got to half. It was either $2, I believe, or 10%. But I think 10% would be better, because at one point, they had events there that at the very
And
minimum,
thousands of people.
and their ticket price was $50, so that would be $5. But unfortunately, that wasn't run by the Guam Federation. So instead, we got something like 10% of their sublease rate, which was 3,000, so we got whatever it was, 300.
I don't know, reading through your Bible, I think Henry stiffed us a lot. In monies he owed us, because we were supposed to share 50-50. And I think he was getting money from both sides of that faucet.
Commissioner, not to interrupt, I think that with this audit that is being done, I think a lot of that will be uncovered, especially knowing what we know with everything that we have documented.
But who's being audited? Guam Raceway?
Yes,
By the
by the
public?
OPA.
Oh, that's
And we
great.
are involved in this audit because we have the paper trails. Right? I mean, as much as I know, we have most of
We've
these
provided
paper trails.
everything to auditors.
Yeah.
And it, just so you guys know, it has been an item, a finding in our audit since 2015. So already at that point, there was concerns because we weren't able to ascertain the amount we received versus the amount that was taken out. So, so from that, that's what had triggered us to start monitoring. And then I believe in 2017, because there was no action done on our proposed internal policies on how to determine, right, through topo surveys, drones, whatever it was, they terminated it, or they seized that operation, and then again, later they allowed it to happen, and then terminated and allowed it, and today, it's not authorized.
Okay, so commissioners, we won't move on the designation. We'll wait for that on our next meeting in May, to look at what the scheme looks like, tabletop scheme. Is that doable?
I
And I mean,
believe so, we can go out there in GPS and
secondly, again, we've already all expressed, Commissioner Herrera, I didn't hear, your stance on the bill.
Same as
Okay.
what,
Want to make sure we're all on a unified front, that we object to
Yeah.
this.
it's just that we have to consider, right, that once this thing comes to the public, and if the 15 senators decided to go ahead and have a majority to transfer it,
Oh, yeah,
then now that would be a different story,
yes,
because we can object
They-
here,
yep, they could,
because
sorry.
it could be legislatively transferred.
Yes, so they could
That's my
they could have this bill, they could have another bill, they could have other bills that will, again, how it was initially put into the Guam Raceway, they could have it the same, they could, do another bill. So let's come as a united front in objection to this bill. The team, Alice and Joey, could put the resolution together, and I want all of us to sign if we can do that. And then we'll get it transmitted, right? And again, if there's another bill that comes up, we'll deal with it then. But I think, again, I just don't,
Can we have an opening section of that resolution? Because we're all in unison here about objecting to the transfer of the land, citing the reasons for the termination of the lease.
It could be in the resolution, Mr. Carrillo.
Yeah.
Commissioner Carrillo. We'll
And
put
I
it in.
want it to be
Yeah.
vigorously stated. It has nothing to do with the sports activities that were occurring there, but the behind the scenes,
well, I think it's all the improprieties,
Yeah.
right, that has happened, right?
but it's not to say it's not a good idea or anything, but how would that play out? Would it be prematurely done because there is an investigation going on
yes,
now?
but the bill says to transfer it, and they're trying to do it as soon as possible. So
Understood.
what I want to see is something to counter, because right now, we're against the youth of Guam, because the youth of Guam, although I think it's less than 1% that would utilize that facility, it's being expanded and blown out of proportion, that we are against them.
So I'll work with legal counsel, right, write it up, because the instruction is, the commissioners oppose the transfer, oppose Bill 56-37, which seeks to transfer the,
That's
7161-R1 from CLTC to Parks and Rec. That's what the commissioners are, and I will prepare the resolution for review with legal counsel. Joey will put, and then before you guys sign off, right, you'll have to pass the resolution,
Right,
right? So before you even pass it, I can provide it for review.
but I wanted to get started,
Yes,
and
yes.
then quickly,
Maybe they can vote on it now.
Yeah. Well, we can vote on it conditionally.
Yeah.
For the resolution.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if that's gonna be fast-tracked by next week.
Well, the first thing they need to do before it goes before the
Public
legislature
hearing.
needs a public hearing.
yeah.
And it hasn't
So,
happened.
yeah, so Joey, so, Mr. Cruz, I'm not necessarily worried about that. I think that, the hard part here for this to be fast-tracked, the hard part here for this to even be put as a transfer is, I mean, this is our lands, okay? This is the intent of these lands, right? And then there's still other things happening with lands that's not even ours to come back to us. So if we can, you know, this is, yeah, no, I think that the fast track of this, I don't think is very viable, but
don't
anything
put
can
it
happen,
past them.
yes, but
Don't put it
anything can
past them.
happen, I agree. But we're making it very clear that we're not against the activities that happen at the raceway,
The sports
the
activity.
sports activities, it's the management and improprieties that have happened over the
In
years.
accordance with the contract.
Right. And there's no lease. There is no lease today.
Yeah, it's a license.
Right.
It's a permit.
License, there's nothing existent. It ended in 2018.
Or June 2nd.
Well, technically, it was a month-to-month.
Technicalities that we've approved up to,
Mhm.
but again, there has been no lease since 2018. And now that it's on our table,
And just for the
Over the years.
benefit also, he cited in this board meeting that it was our responsibility to take the lease to the legislature. But I read in the Bible, Peak have revised it and sent it to him, no response.
so again, the OPA will be dissecting all the documentations we have. I'm comfortable that a lot of this will be even brought to light and summarized in a way that it doesn't make any sense, that from an operator standpoint, it will go, that they will even do any type of legislation to have this carry on. Our duty is let's make sure that we can still have these types of recreation activities and figure out who will make these things happen. I feel that's my stance. So let's have that. I recommend we have the team put the resolution together. Let's vote that this resolution, we want this resolution in opposition to this particular bill, and any other bill that comes through, we'll take a look and we can figure it out if we, but again, I would rather us start from step one and designate the commercial use based on what we find with the tabletop schemes, and we can go from there. I
Well,
think,
there's nothing to stop right now, the attorney from
do we need to vote
working
on
on
this?
a draft resolution.
You should, because you're making a
Yes.
decision.
You're making a decision, so you can vote on, instruct us to write the resolution in opposition to this bill.
Okay.
And we'll work with legal counsel.
Okay, all right. So may I get a motion?
I move.
Okay,
Oh,
Commissioner Rito?
okay, motion. Second motion.
May I second? Get a second? Okay, Commissioner Herrera, second?
I second the
Okay,
motion, sir.
any objections?
None.
Okay, hearing none, motion passes for the team to create the resolution in opposition to bill number 5637.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners.
Just FYI also, the same, there's a bill also requesting to transfer the golf course to Parks and Rec.
Where did that bill come from?
Same set
Have
of.
we seen it? Have we seen this bill to transfer GICC to Parks and Rec? Commissioner Grado said there's a bill.
No, the bill that we did see was, regarding GICC, was to expand their activity, so also for solar panel, I think, or something.
Yeah, I
there-
saw
there
one
was that-
that-
No, you're right, but that's for that solar.
Solar panel, but, let me dig. and
Because
see.
they see that that golf course is in jeopardy here also.
So, may I ask Ms. Tyron and Mr. Cruz, instead of these bills just being, again, I appreciate the efforts, but have any of the senators writing these bills reached out, or their staff, reached out to understand some of the things behind the scenes or under the covers per se that we have records of, that's public records, before these bills come to fruition? Or, and again, I appreciate it, but any collaboration that was called to, for the team?
With regard to any bills that are currently introduced,
Like-
no. I've not received anything. We've not received a request for, information or asked for a meeting.
Data,
Right.
okay, all right, just curious,
With any bills that have been introduced, no.
regards to our,
Yeah.
all right. Anywho, Commissioner Garrido, send me that bill.
It
Have a
doesn't
copy?
have a number, I think.
Okay, does it have a number yet? Okay,
So it
Commissioner
hasn't been
Burdette.
introduced.
No.
It happened basically at the same time that this first came out.
In the resolution, you should state the purpose of CHamoru Land Trust.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure they'll craft some very good, language to that. We have to take a look at that anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, any other further questions to this? Okay, moving on, into our new business, we did address Attica Water, we approved that, thank you, for the right of entry. December 95 listing, Ms. Tyron, could you give us some updates?
Okay, so we are stuck at number 6. We're working with legal counsel on that. Right now, according to the land agent who's currently overseeing it, is I think number 3 is the only one that has responded.
Okay,
So I'm working, I've actually met with the team, and then we're gonna meet again to just itemize exactly what it is that we're gonna do moving forward. We are going to move forward with 1995 as aggressively as possible
okay.
and get those out. I think they were reviewing 30 applicants, and oh, that's what we were asking.
Joey, I thought back in December, Toff agreed that we can go to number 7. We're not going to kill number 6, but go to
Correct.
number 7 just to keep the momentum going. Because what I remember with number 6 is 1, they gave the wrong designee to be the benefactor of the land. And 2, there was a swap that went on.
The letter that we used for the initial 5 is being updated currently by our current legal counsel.
Okay,
So,
Everything with regard to 1995, and I asked the commissioners for a little bit of time, is I am reviewing with legal counsel. There are so many things that have occurred. And as I sat at my desk, I'm like, I don't know where to begin. I sat with legal counsel, I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Because we have our 1995s, and then we have issues with leases and lessees, all kinds of issues, right? So I spoke with legal counsel and I said, I am setting this to you for direction, right? And it's, to protect us. And then, and that's with 1995 as well. We are going to continue to move forward with that. In addition to that is, there are no SOPs, there's no flow chart, there's no process in place. So I have to work with the team. I just had a discussion this morning with one of the land agents. I said, I need to know what it is that we're doing. and you need to pull out the Guam Code annotated, not the public law, the Guam Code annotated or the GAR with regard to our processes. So we're working on that. I actually have somebody outside of our agency, and I'm trying to get these SOPs, processes, flowcharts done so that it protects all of us, right? And that our processes aren't questioned. So I am working on that. We are updating everything pursuant to Guam Code annotated. Applications, everything.
May I have a question? So
Sure.
with regards to that, I know that there were, on residential uses and things that we can help, that the board may be allowed to do. Have we heard any feedback, anything from the resolution that we had approved to send down to the speaker's office? You know, to kind of, any dialogue and collaboration to moving that forward, anything?
I had a brief discussion with the speaker maybe weeks back when there was a meeting, but there's no movement on that yet.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything else, I may have misunderstood the conversation, but I will follow up with the speaker and I'll ask
Okay.
if there's any, what kind of support can we get?
Because I mean, there was a reason why we sent that down, right? There's a lot of things that we could easily address, but it's not proving that we can easily address. And we don't want to stop with the movement in 95. We've been talking about this, so let's continue to move on as guided by Attorney Toft, and I'm hoping that Attorney Finney will, proceed with that guidance as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Any questions, Commissioners, on 95?
Well, I know, since you said only number 3 has replied, right?
I think only one of,
The ones we sent letters and.
the letters,
add.
that went out,
Isn't there a timeline, Joey, in that? You said
Yes.
they have to respond within 90 days, otherwise it's null and
They're
void?
null and void.
Yes.
Just to add to what Director Taiwan had said was, in addition to, if it's only one who replied, there's, I think, 2 or 3 in that listing that had a lease in their file, that were issued a lease, but an employee had requested that the lessee had declined. I wrote in the note. But there's no document in file to effectuate that decline. So that lease, per se, was removed from the lease listing, and one of the applicants now, we were kind of confused because they said they're going to their leased property. They don't need a lease, they have a lease. But unfortunately, that property that was named in that lease has been given already to somebody else.
And they're on the property?
We're assuming.
Yeah.
So, to clean it all up, the person who was given a lease but supposedly declined, and when the lease award was removed from the database, they did, I think they did communicate with the office too. So, it's just, that's the issues that we're dealing with now. And, we're foreseeing already that maybe even within the next 30, or the first 30 that we're supposed to be working on, I think from 6 to 30, there may be some applicants who had switched application date and times. So that's part of the null and void. So what are we gonna do then? Is the board do we present it to the board and the board's gonna action it to revert it? Or do you do one sunset fix and revert everybody back because it's not allowed by law?
So with regard to that, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, is, as I had mentioned, is our duty here is to protect beneficiaries, the employees, and the chair, right? So issues like that come up will be written to the AG's office, because we need their help at this point in time. And whatever direction they provide will be presented to the commissioners. One of the things that we do not have is our process, our flow. How do we go about doing this to ensure that everybody's being treated equally and fairly, right? I saw a little bit of something, and we need to rewrite all of that. So all of these issues that Joey mentioned, anything that's coming up is going to legal counsel. So it's going to take a little bit of time, because I'm going to ask legal counsel for guidance and what is the best legal course of action.
So you're speaking to the process.
I'm talking about everything that's happening in that file. We need to protect the commission, right? Is because I need to ensure that we have a process in place from start to finish, so that if anybody comes into question, well, how did this happen? I've been asking, how did this happen? Because there's no real process in place, right? It's to no fault of the team that's here, all right? They understand where I'm coming from, I've said it already, right? And so we need something down that's following the GCA. That's just one. Now, as we're trying to work on that, it's going through these files with all of these issues, right? So we don't have the authority to make that decision. And if the board, and if there's a decision that needs to be made by the board, it will come to the board. However, before it does, I'm gonna get legal guidance. And
It's
the
already
board-
been cleared.
I'm sorry?
It's already been cleared.
It's gonna be
It's ready
cleared so
for
that
us.
whenever it comes to the board, right, is you will know, this is what legal says, right? It's also to protect the board with regard to the decisions that are gonna be made.
And making sure that it's within the confines of
Exactly.
whatever parameters we have to follow. Okay, understood. Again, it's been since '95. I'm not trying to accelerate and do things where we're gonna have to go back. So let's speed it up. As speeding as we can.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
since 1995, okay.
Question,
Yes, sir.
in 1995, right, we have formatted and configured the application form. Yes, both in CHamoru and English.
I believe so.
There, that's a good point, I think so.
Yes, I've seen it, it's in CHamoru.
Yes. So would not the original application have its questions, right, from 1 to 20? So would that not kind of be the foundation of the process flow chart? No? The questions on each item would ask, are you living or farming on CHamoru Land Trust? Yes or no? Right? So if it's a yes, then next question would be where? So what I'm saying is that to do the schematic and the configuration of the process flow chart, the original questionnaire in the file would be your point of beginning. We're following?
Sir, checklist, yes.
So that would be number one before we get the lease.
Yes.
Right, so if everything is in compliance based on the requirement of one code annotated or public law 12-226 or now 35-112, then the applicant would get their lease. Yes? But then, correct? Yes?
If all things,
If all things were there. However, if the applicant is farming on CHamoru Land Trust but has a land use permit, now that changes.
yes.
It changes the configuration. Part of the law is saying that if the applicant was there before July 12, 1995, no, we cannot evict the applicant. The applicant can be there for the next 100 years. But according to the language of the law, we cannot, or we, CHamoru Land Trust, cannot evict the applicant. We're still in line so far. So what we're saying is that a lot of these applicants over there, the page is yellow, so this is back in '95. So we're in number 6. Yes?
Not number 6. We're at number 6 in the next 30.
In the next 30.
How many 30s have we gone through?
One.
Only one?
It's the first 30.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, thank you both for your hard work. And we're on the first 30. So this documentation record can give us the first 30, but how many leases have we issued? I think about 2,500.
As of September 30, 2022, if I'm not mistaken, there's 2,911 leases.
Okay, we'll say 3,000 out of 13,000
Round up.
applicants. 3 out of 13. So long story short, and we'll just end this, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
So I understand complexity of everything that we're saying and doing. So now we're getting the Attorney General to be part of the process to validate or deny what was already issued or their current condition. So where are we in the first term? We're at number 6.
What those in compliance with the application process, if they completed the application the way it should have been completed, should not be affected. There should be some allowances for like a grandfather clause. I mean, we don't expect, or at least I won't expect them to go back and have to fill in a whole new questionnaire for the process. But the ones where we have questions on their answers and stuff like that, those needs to be remediated.
That's what I'm working with legal counsel on,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you have our 1995 applicants. We're not questioning applications, they're numbered, right? And pursuant to the law, we need to go through the number, right? What we have are individuals who weren't from 1995 at 8:07 a.m., December 2nd. How did that happen?
And they have a lease.
And they have leases,
Exactly.
okay?
So
How did
that's
that
the-
happen?
I understand.
So, I'm not, if they've got a, I'm not saying I'm sending it, it's all of these things that are coming. And I'm working on 1995's, our first 30, trying to get them out there. There's other issues with regard to naming beneficiaries or, what are they called, successors who are not eligible. People living on our land, on the
Number
land,
6.
or who aren't eligible, right? The laws also change, you have 75A that doesn't speak to what happens to applications or applicants who name successors. It speaks to, if I'm not mistaken, leases or lessees, not applicants. The law states if you didn't get a lease prior to January 1, 2021, you now have to qualify under 75A. So it's very complex. We have applicants from 1995. If they can get a lease, we now have to work with them and qualify under 75A,
Yes.
right? We're trying to stay within.
But and Commissioners, rest assured that the team does everything in the research to help ensuring that they are qualified.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm comfortable where we're moving. All disclosure, I'm not comfortable at the speed of how we're going, so, just thank you for the update.
I like your idea. The application process has to be revisited. And I think that's what we should use in place when you finalize it for all the new applicants.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Because we can't change the applications from the past
Oh, no.
unless there's a discrepancy in it.
Yes. Oh, no, we're not changing, yes, sir. We're not changing anything.
Any other questions? Okay, all right, I know next on our item is the strategic plan, however, are we ready to tick and tie and have that discussion today?
It's fluid, we're gonna update it. No.
All right, understood?
Well, we have Attica, we're working on Attica.
Yes, okay.
To get water infrastructure.
Tina, if we can leave this as an item, that it should always be on there, and if we could start looking, just pull out certain things, okay, this is where we didn't meet, we're gonna change it to this date.
For the
Well,
strategic plan?
Yeah, plot different things,
Okay.
okay? Thank you. All right, let's go through the budget request, I think that's one thing that we need to approve. And then, Joey, in the same breath, talk about our monthly revenue to set us up, and then,
Okay. Did you want us to go through the monthly revenue first, or the
How do you
budget in its
tee it up?
entirety? So the budget in its entirety, right, I just wanted to indicate here that, in the budget, how we had, the original proposed budget is at $1,706,206. Where's,
Is that line or, column here?
If you look at the government, the budget digest, the summary,
The page
the
one,
first long sheet.
page 105?
Yes.
one point, if you just, yeah,
Column L.
The far right.
The last column,
Okay,
at the bottom.
one,
Page 105?
Yes,
Okay,
it's the first long sheet. To the right, the original request, when we prepared this for the board, is $1,706,206,000, right? $706,000. Our numbers came in, I'm asking for an increase, we're gonna have to change this when we submit it to, the legislature, an increase of $600, and this is for the audit costs, right? Originally, we budgeted it at $37,400, but it's gonna cost us about $38,000, so that's an additional $600.
that would be on the column,
That would be contractual.
That'll be contractual.
Contractual
Different form.
services. Item 230,
page 105?
Page 205. So that will increase by 600?
$600, yes.
Contract.
Right, and then also, we need, the numbers came in after we submitted the budget. We need to have a virtual server, and that's gonna cost us $35,000, right?
Okay.
So this is for the scanning and the recording of all our documents, right? So we need to put that on a virtual server.
What line would that fall under?
That would also be under contractual,
Under
it's contractual,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's a virtual server? I'm sorry, you
Yes,
did
it's
say
a
that,
virtual
yeah.
server, yeah.
Okay.
And this is I believe it's a subscription?
If you're looking at the digest, so there's multiple sheets. The additional expenses that the director had mentioned will all fall under the Chamorro Campus Operations Fund. So that's sheet 2 of 5.
can I ask you a question? I know this is the budget that we're going to propose and be sent to the legislature.
Yes.
I'm kind of like, I thought we're self-generating. Why do we have to go to the legislature for approval for us to spend our money? We're not getting it from the general fund.
That's one,
Just to, if we can go complete the review, only because it'll answer your questions. But to get ahead of it, we are requesting for general fund money now. We do not generate enough money to self-sustain our expenditures for the year.
Okay, that answers it.
Yeah.
I mean, where's that number here? That self-generation funds or cash?
It'll be on our,
It's a budget request, and then 2, we are not allowed to expend money from our revenues without any appropriation. If in the law they decide to change it and allow us to expend freely, then that could occur and we won't have to go to the legislature, almost like how the autonomous agencies operate.
They still have to get approval.
We're a line agency, we still have to get approval. Unless in the fund it specifically says you may expend and if you report this and that and stuff like
So just to be clear, the increase from 1,706,206 would be 1,736,806.
17606.
Right,
That's the
because you're adding
Not
30,000.
Page 105?
I think it's
that.
1,741,806.
So it would be an additional
35,600.
Yeah, 35,600.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's remind me,
06.
1706, no, what's the final number?
1741806.
1,741,806.
1741806, okay. Commissioners, any questions?
So which is the one that you're gonna put, we're gonna request that for the legislature?
The
1741. 1706206 would be our general fund.
It's an
right?
increase.
It's an increase.
The 1706206 was the initial request, which you guys find in your packet. But because we learned of the virtual server cost and a little increase to the audit cost for FY 2023 independent audit, we're requesting a total of 1741806.
And that includes employees.
Yes.
And what columns?
The breakdown of the request.
You have 10 personnel.
Yeah,
Are you including for the additional personnel?
yes.
Yes.
But just so you understand, 1,141,211 is being requested from the general fund. That is fully for salaries and benefits.
Again, let's put the salaries.
Yes. 600,595 will come from the operations fund.
600595.
Yes. Just know that we are stretching it a little bit based on our projections.
Okay.
Even though in the audit, you may see that we're projecting to get 700, a little over 700,000 for FY 2024, or a little 700, I believe. Just know that the allowance for doubtful accounts almost like
Mr.
the
You guys see?
ICC.
This is a wish list. It's
Yes.
still going to be scrutinized by the legislature. They may knock it down.
They may cut, decrease the general fund request.
So the increase from 23 to 24 is about 100,000?
Not even,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
With the new number?
Yes, 160 something like that.
So it's it's an increase from what we've been allocated in 23. I mean, it's always good to go into I mean, this is not even a cushion, right? I mean, 100,000.
Bare bone is what,
It's bare bone.
yeah. And just so you guys know, we
In the past, how were we received by the legislature on our proposed budget?
Yeah, we get the most recent budget for 2023, we were lucky that Speaker Talahi had fought for us to get an additional appropriation from the 2%.
No, but on our submittal.
Well, we fairly were able to justify how
We
and
spend.
where we're gonna get the money and stuff like that, so we got it. But just for full disclosure, we're not collecting enough to maintain our solvency, our financial independence. It shows. So we need to find new revenue, so amendments need to be made to current laws to adjust.
Speaking of which, when does the submerged lands, because I know Tata, we still have to work on Tata?
Yes, there's an update
Because
that's.
they're
being
live
done.
in production, so I know they're up for renewal, and then we'll start seeing those revenues, and then, of course, GTA, depending on when they actually land, right, become operational. So we know what those revenue streams could be. I think Tata's more what we can materialize, right, or count.
Immediate, yeah.
Immediately, it's immediate once we sign. I think there's just some minor,
There's minor changes from legal.
yeah, and so to your point, Commissioner Grillo, they have, I forget the number of not circuits, but actual
6 cables.
cables that are running through, that's 600
That's
pounds.
the max.
Since
the
you
one
brought
in
it
Niagara.
up, I know it's not germane to this, where are the submerged lands that we have authority over?
Anywhere that's not federally reserved.
So it's everywhere. In a sense,
Yeah,
right?
it's everywhere.
That's a very broad stroke, right?
It works in our favor, because
So when you think of that, I think there's one up in the south that's actually starting to have some dialogue.
PD,
PD
ED's already, yeah.
PD.
and then Tata. So Tata has 2 active, they're working on 1. So we have to go back and see whether it could be assessed a landing fee or not, because the law was talking about construction and all that other stuff. So
So because we have active cables with Tata, that's what we know can materialize as soon
Yeah,
as the
they
contract.
came in, remember,
Yeah.
a few months back?
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? I think, I'm comfortable with the increase, let's
Hey, these guys scrutinize this, we have a director that's very forceful.
and we just.
I'll sign off on this.
And just to wrap it up. Oh,
You
sorry.
sure you don't wanna pad it with safety equipment for you guys?
You know, we can put down everything that we want, like a wish list.
Yeah, but
Um,
safety equipment.
We have money in here for supplies, and it could be classified as supplies.
Yeah, it is.
You know, in the past, there have been requests for safety shoes. My only concern before was, for one, we don't do ocean inspections, there's no need for steel toe. If they needed some type of shoes because of what they do, maybe like cleats because of the topography. Just yesterday, we went to Inaran and we almost played like George of the Jungle because the topography of by the Inaran Middle School is
terrain.
yeah. So, you know, those are the things, but we do look out for our staff. For example, like the dengue fever, we have off spray.
No, but how about vests identifying you as a,
So
Government.
the team, when I first came on board, I asked them, they do have safety vests, but what they do not want is to be identified CLTC because they have been threatened.
Target.
They're a target.
government agent?
Okay,
It doesn't have to be CLTC, government agent or,
okay. We'll take a look at that. I think I just, you know, it's-
As long as we throw all the safety precautions in place, I think that the direction is, we gotta make sure that that's all in place.
since we're doing budget right now, I have another thing that I would like, maybe consideration for everyone, is legal protection,
We've added some legal costs into our budget request.
because
including
we're cleaning up a lot of dirty work, and we're all subject to being sued in our capacity since we're board members.
Should get insurance.
it's gonna be costly. As in bond? And that's why I'm working
Well, see,
with,
I don't know if the AG is gonna step in and protect us, because Henry's already announced to the world on, who's that, K57 talk show, si La Morena, that he's thinking about suing us.
it's okay.
No, but what I'm
Yeah,
saying-
We have, that's why I'm working with Attorney Finney, right, with all of these issues to ensure that we are protected.
And the reason also why I'm asking is because GWA and GPA just lost their legal attorneys
Yes.
that were on staff. The AG took them away.
Just so you know, we remembered what you had mentioned in previous board meeting. So for legal services, we budgeted it at $300 per billable hour at 600, so we put in a budget request of
Not enough. 300 is
Just
not
to start
enough.
off.
Most attorneys go for like $400 or $500 per hour.
Okay.
If we need to amend that 600, we have to go through the legislature again, or
No,
just?
I think it'll be, so not to interrupt, but I think Joey will find a way, hopefully, within the
But thank you, Joey.
yeah, confines of our,
Because if we're gonna
ability
do a
to
lot
move
of
money
cleaning
around.
up, we need to know that we have some wiggle room that will make us feel comfortable.
so if you guys decide today to make a vote on the budget request, and you want to make an adjustment, for example, like the attorney fees, if you can, in your motion that you approve based on the condition that we adjust the per hour rate and increase the total amount of hours, if that's what you would
I
like.
mean, we could use a general term, but I don't think the legislature will buy a general term, you know, if we say at current rates,
Fair
right?
market value,
Yeah,
but we need to put a number to that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, we need to put a number so we can go high and they can chip it down. But it's on an as-needed basis. It can, we need to ask them if they won't allow it, but, because you can't carry over surpluses. It has to be returned to the general fund at the end of the fiscal year.
So what's our proposal?
We increase the
The billable hour?
we increase the billable hours.
Why don't we just increase the hours?
We could.
Instead of the billable hour. Keep the billable hour as it is and just increase the number of hours.
I'm sorry, I didn't,
So instead of increasing the billable hour,
yeah,
right, and say we have like 50 hour, I'll throw it out, 50 hours, and say we want to just increase it to 200 hours, leave the billable hour there, net, it's just how it's expended.
I'm game for that.
It-
And we can always amend it if we do deplete it, because we're all going to get sued.
No, we cannot, unless there's money.
Huh?
We cannot increase it.
Special emergency.
You know, I've served in an autonomous agency, and we were covered as board members, especially with, like you said, what's happening now,
Our exposure.
right?
Yeah.
It may take his house away.
We can look into getting some kind of bond or liability or some kind of coverage. But since I've been here since 1998 to today, I haven't encountered insuring our board members publicly.
Just
But-
look
but-
into it.
But we're going to make changes.
Yeah.
We're going
No,
to,
I don't disagree. So let's address the,
The budget.
is that under contractual fees? Or would that fall under?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what do you have budgeted, Joey, for number of hours?
600,
Hours. At what rate?
300.
300, so then up it, just double it. I'm just saying that, just double the hours,
1,200 hours.
1,200 hours, right? As a, again, it's just going in as a budget.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Grid, like doubles the amount, right?
Mhm.
Not changing the per hour,
fine, either we change the amount per hour or
double
double the amount of
hours.
billable hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just take it when you guys make the
Yeah.
motions.
Okay, so as part of the motion too, we have to account for the increase of the 35,600?
For the new rate.
Yeah. No, the 35,600 that you're
Yes.
increasing from 1706 to 06.
I think adopting the new total will suffice.
1741806, but that doesn't include the double of the hours.
Yeah.
We need to
So in
calculate.
addition, so approving the budget request of $1,741,806 and adding the additional 600 hours to attorney fees.
That's how much? 600 times 300.
No, it's double, so it's 360,000 now, because they went up to
360.
12,000. 360,000
260,000 for legal.
for legal.
Okay, commissioners? Would you like to take action?
Oh my God, that's too much.
Sure. I move we approve conditionally the amendments for the new fiscal year budget.
I second.
May, thank you. Any objections?
No.
Do you want to list the amendments from the motion?
Yeah, okay, so I was gonna just, okay. Hearing no objections? No objections? Okay, motion passes. To accept the budget, with the conditions of the new amount of $1,741,806 and the provision to increase the hours for attorney fees by 600.
So
Does that work to you?
Yes.
Good to go.
The budget will come out to 2,101,806.
Well, 600 hours is in here already, so you're just adding 600 more hours.
Oh,
Sorry,
180,000.
180,000.
180,000.
Okay, we're still under 2.
You man your calculator.
Okay, thank you, commissioners.
Mr. Herrera, you had a question about the 1.1?
I was just going through, page,
1 million.
this is mixed up, this page 707, 201.
So we have to change this.
What lines, and we can have Joey,
page 707,
Okay,
and page 209.
Are you looking at the proposed budget staffing pattern?
Right.
So 7 of 7 is the second page of 6 of 7. The staffing pattern is really 2 pages.
And that's part of the budget we just,
Discussed.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
The staffing pattern, the proposed. I think we should. So page 6 of 7 is our total staff. Reflects the total, the staff and the details of the incumbents and the position title.
Joey, what is an agricultural management specialist?
That's a position that has some type of subject matter expertise based on agriculture. So the reason why in the past it was identified as for recruitment is, so we have land agents and myself and a planner who does compliance inspections. So to ensure that we do not create a liability in terms of having an employee perform above and beyond their required duties, and we had someone who had subject matter expertise, knowledge of agriculture, that individual would be part of the compliance team. Because we have a lot of agriculture uses. So that's, this position title came from the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, so we are in line with the duties with, we are in line with the duties of what the Department of Agriculture oversees.
The duties of this individual would be in line with what.
Yeah, because like, I know, like, to be a licensed farmer, you need to meet certain criteria to be licensed by the Department of Agriculture.
To get the
So this
bonfire
person will
fund.
be following up like surveys and stuff like that,
Not
checking
necess-
up on their progress, because
Yes.
they're supposed to farm the entire
Yes.
property.
Yes. And then they would know, like, they could probably even assist in terms of providing guidance, right? Like, if you're in a Cascal area, you don't have to dig to plant, you can dig above ground, and the land agents here have gone through training like that with Dr. Barbara from UOG. So that's what that position is.
Okay.
then you have 4 or 3 vacant. Three, there's no 4.
We interviewed for some of these positions, commissioners, and when we gave them the offers, they declined it. So DOA is gonna re-announce, right, or is re-announcing.
And they're declining because of
Well, our
the
experience,
workload or
the pay was one big thing, right, Joey? And then some just decided they wanted to relocate, or they got better offers elsewhere.
so let's say a land agent suit. That's step 1 at 54, is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
And N, rate step,
Pay grade and step 1.
N step.
But, you know, just so you're aware, if an individual should apply and is selected and is promotional, they won't be slotted at
Step 1
step 1.
could be above step increase.
It would be, because it's a promotion, so there will be some type of promotional.
Adjustment.
Yeah.
So let's say a land agent at DOM, doing the same rate step. I mean, you look at land agent.
So we'll just use an example like a land agent 3
Uh,
or land
Department
agent
of-
2, right?
Department of Land Management or here?
Anywhere, because the pay grade and stuff is, we're using the general pay plan.
Okay.
So like, let's just say a land agent 2 here, who's at a K3, is promoted to the manager supervisor. So what happens is, from the promotion, you move up 2 steps from the K, and then match what's graded 2, but not less than on the N pay grade. So if N is already at 54 and going up 2 steps from K3 to K5, it doesn't exceed 54, then they start at step 1.
So let's say for us to speed up our process on the first 30, would we say that we need maybe 3 more land agents or 5 more land agents or, analyzing the process flow?
Could
Where's the bottleneck that, right? Because
In the past, it's our process, right, that we had in the past, that we've worked towards trying to correct, right? So we can put as many people in many hands as required, but it may become counterproductive. The problem initially is not because the amount of people we have, but all the anomalies and all the acts that were done
The
contrary to
roadblocks.
law. In addition to that, even if we wanted to survey, if we survey 5 or more lots, it has to go to the GLUC. At that point, they're gonna require the instance, depending whether it's an agricultural subdivision or residential subdivision. But the minimum requires is that with an agriculture, they're gonna require us to put water, power throughout the whole entire subdivision. And I'll give you an example, tract 10123, which the board had designated for affordable housing, was rezoned to R1. That was our first project that we rezoned to R1. But because the conditions of the GLUC was not met, that rezoning and the map or whatever that was done has expired. So we're gonna have to go back and reapply. So it's not necessarily the amount of hands we have, but it's the process that we had in the past that we've worked towards today to try to get going. And then all the actions that were done by allowing applicants to switch date and times, naming an unsuccessful successor, the desire to want to lease with the infrastructure, or at the very least surveying, we don't have those resources.
Are we allowed to name more than one successor?
In the law, you can.
Really?
It says successor or successors. It doesn't say how many, so it's plural, so you can.
here we have 6 land agents. If we have 12, would that increase our productivity? I mean, I see 6 here, right? So each land agent now, what's their workload? Do they have like 10 clients on each land agent, or is it spread out in that kind of workload where?
It's kind of spread out.
Yeah.
It's spread out and divided among all the land agents, right?
Yeah.
So with a lot of these projects coming up, I need to, I'm gonna allocate how many people to the 1995s? How many people are gonna be allocated? Now, to Joey's point with regard to, we can have 12 land agents, doesn't mean it's gonna speed things up. The bottleneck would be in the process with regard to everything that needs to be done after.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
process is being held out at Attorney General?
No, there's, nothing's being held up at the HE's office. We are trying to
The
work with
process
them.
is here.
Well, just in general, like trying to get land surveyed, we have to give, when we make an offer, this individual can decline 3, right? 3 properties, and upon that, we have to bring it to the board. There's a lot of things that happen in between that could. We are in the process, I'm hoping to get a PC1 and a PC2, right, is what we put up. That would help. That's gonna be in addition to what we have right now. We had a land agent one, never responded, so we have to determine if we're going to put that out again and if that'll help.
So I think, Commissioners, I think
Yeah.
the thing is not necessarily the head count, it's really the obstacles to get through some of some are slam dunk.
So the speed would be that even if we have 100 land agents, we're still gonna be in the first 30.
No.
No.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't think 12, I don't think the answer is 12, I don't think the answer is 8. I think the answer is how do we remove some of these obstacles that we, as the board, can assist the land agents to get through. So I think that's where we continue to be stuck, but also continue to be stuck on potentially qualifying, right? When we start to do a qualifying.
this is a question that's gonna be presented.
Oh, yeah,
again
down at the
legislature.
legislature, yes.
So I've been only here for 12 months. I started in April, it's April now. So I can almost hear the panel asking, so Madam Director and Joey, how many leases have we issued? So how many have we done so far?
0. But if I may,
There.
And that's okay. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that we have to be comfortable and being able to defend that, okay? I'm not trying to say that it's right, wrong, it's indifferent, whatever. We have to be okay with that, and we have to also support as to why.
if I may, one thing that would assist us in the process, at least qualifying and starting to award, is the additional authority that the board had approved. For example, number 6 is the named beneficiary is the granddaughter. The board had approved to allow the named beneficiary to extend to the third continuity of relation. So that would include the granddaughter. So that's just,
And remember, a grandchild cannot be a beneficiary.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
my point is that if we come in front of the agency that's providing the funds, and they're saying, okay, you're asking for 1,700,000, what's your productivity? Right? Are you worth to be allotted 1.7 million? I mean,
Yes, no, and
I'm
Commissioner.
just looking at
yeah.
it in that.
Commissioner O'Hara, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I don't want to also make sure, I don't want to discount the work that the staff continues to do.
Yeah.
Right, I know that's not, and
I've
that's
been a
not what you're
land
saying.
agent myself,
Yes.
and I understand, I work from 6 in the morning to 6 in the
Yeah,
evening.
and I'm not saying that's
and
what
I
you're
go
saying,
out
yes,
and
but
I see the load that these guys have.
yes, and that's why, and you've been as well to go visit all the commercial properties.
Now,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, in that.
30 years ago,
Yeah.
we started in that.
Yes, and then, and I just want to make sure that by no means that's what we're discounting the staff's hard work that they do today, but sometimes some of these obstacles are the stop gaps, or the gaps.
And that is
we
why
have to
the
fill.
integrated land trust
Mhm.
and land management was to integrate the resources so we can use the surveyor, the planners as one, remember?
Yes.
Right, so then we,
We merge now, we're not
like
merged.
you mentioned, we bifurcated or trifurcated. So now is it more productive or counterproductive? And in my opinion, it's counterproductive. So, because we're waiting for surveys. So if you want applicant number 1 to have a survey, we came up with this. If you want a survey, you can choose from one of 7 surveyors, which that was not the original
Yeah.
program that we intended in the beginning, right? Because this is to appease the beneficiaries that were victimized by the unfair land taking. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
No, I appreciate it, and Mr. O'Hara, again, I appreciate your attention to detail. So, and we have to ask these questions because, as you guys know, those are the questions we're gonna get asked, right? When we're in front of the budget committee, and, okay, any further questions?
I know that like the survey and the rezoning is outside of our work description here. Okay, we depend on other agencies and we don't know how long they take to address those issues that are being sent to them. But in the case of naming a wrong successor, can we send them out a certified mail based on the 90-day rule that we have, if they don't reply, then they're cut up.
That's, yeah, that's part of our process is when these files come, this is the issue. Legal, what is the best legal course of action to take?
If it can be resolved within the confines of the law and
Yeah.
its, or interpretation, we have to send it to the.
And one thing we need to consider is, for example, if they're still an applicant, but they're an applicant who was a preoccupier, who used it through the land use, or whatever the case may be, right? And they did name the successive who's ineligible, but there's a home on it, or they're farming, you know, are we going to terminate it, or are we going to, what would we do? Because that individual will probably not be able to qualify as a preoccupier, because they may have not stayed there. But since their grandparent had died, they've taken over the house, taken over the payments, taken over the farm.
But they're not
Well, that can be
named.
handled on a case-by-case basis, but in the case where we send them an official notice and we tell them that there's a 90-day timeline on that, if they don't come in, then we gotta get them to move, is what I'm saying.
Understood, but
And-
also we're putting a requirement on somebody who's not even eligible. So we could inadvertently, prematurely terminate something that we shouldn't have because you notified someone who's not eligible. You know, just things like that, right? It's, I guess just for me, since I've started working here and how I've grown through to today, is we try to find a resolution to the issues, not to take
Of course, yeah.
things, or, you know, it's just, and then maybe it's built into me, but, you know, it's what it is, but there's a possibility.
But in order to find a resolution, we need their cooperation. And if they're not cooperating to come in and try and straighten things out, I think that's where our 90-day rule should kick in hard, you know? Look at Simpson.
That's commercial, he was talking about
But I mean,
No.
if we didn't serve him an eviction notice,
With commercial.
Maybe 180.
We got double edged, we got a double edged plate here. Joey and director.
I think we should apply the 90 days. to
I'm
everything.
I'm not downplaying your efforts, you guys are doing a spectacular job, okay?
We appreciate it.
Yeah. No, yeah, again, by no means we're discounting the
Since
efforts
day
of
one
our.
in here, Joey, I said, I don't want your job.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I
so I'm
don't
gonna,
want it either now.
I'm gonna move to the
You're
next,
stuck with it, Joey.
I'm gonna move to the next item. I know we're just about done. Any questions on the revenue report? We don't have to go through it. I went through it. I have no questions, but I give the.
No, I thought we approved it already. I
Well,
thought
that's
we
the
approved
the budget. But our revenue report, any questions on the last 2 months?
Joey, I would like to see,
We can't touch our TCD.
No, because we have an agreement with the US Veterans Affairs or the Secretary or something like that. If in the event we decrease the securitized amount of 500,000 and we do not replenish it within timelines, we get penalized. So you know, that is under our loan guarantee program, which is funded through the revenues of our payment in lieu of taxes, which is the real property taxes. As we work through the FY 2022 budget, I'll just get ahead and tell you guys, you're gonna see a high due from the general fund, which means it's a receivable from the general fund. So what happened, I believe, in 2017, we hope not to happen in 2023. And what happened in 2017 was we had to write off. So, but, you know, the boss will send the letter and send it.
Okay.
We share a wall so we can bang the wall.
Anything, yeah.
Is there a revenue from ITC here this property being situated on?
Not to us, because
So how's that?
it's a lease from Governor to Gila, not with the Chamorro.
but who owns the property?
Governor,
Oh, it's not Chamorro Land Trust?
not yet, because the lease hasn't terminated.
It-
So when
it-
that terminates,
it-
it comes back.
It was just renewed during Governor Camacho's time.
No, I don't think so.
Yes,
Camacho?
Governor Camacho,
The land lease?
yeah.
And it's under land management?
I don't know who it's under, but I remember.
I think they attempted to renew it for another 15, but it didn't work.
So the land lease now is under Department of Land Management.
Government.
Government.
Yeah.
Probably Gita, right?
It's with, there's a lease.
Until it
with
expires,
Gabon,
it'll come to
Gita,
our
Gita.
unit.
Who owns the land back there?
Same.
Gabon Lands, Chumolan Trust?
No, Gita has it, well, it depends if you're talking about the cliff or on that side, but if you're talking about, I believe,
Leo, Hakabutan, and all those
Gabon.
businesses there in the
Gabon.
back.
with Gita.
So that would be land management. When we say golf one would be under the jurisdiction of DOM
No, because
Gita.
or Gila?
Gita only has 3 commercial leases that I know of, so, yeah, no. I think that it's between Gita and Gabon, so,
So who gets the money?
Gita.
But
I
when it
think we should
expires, it
have
comes
that land
to us.
under
By law,
our
it should.
authorities.
By law, when it expires, it comes to.
Expiration
It should
date
come
would
to
be
us.
2029?
I don't know offhand.
Who has the copy of the lease?
Gita.
Gita or DLM, because they're the repository for all recorded documents.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Agency report, do we want to, do you have anything,
Nothing major to report,
Major to
Mr.
report.
Chair. We are working on it, working with legal,
everything, okay,
trying to get things done.
thank you. So there's nobody in the room, just for the record, there won't be any public comments. I think we had
Yeah, there's none
none
on Zoom.
on Zoom. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you for the work.
Yes, thank you so much. May I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn. And I second.
Thank you. Any objections? Okay. Commissioner Garrido, second by Commissioner Herrera.
Adjourn till
Time
May
is
18th,
4:11.
adjourn to May 18th at 1 p.m.
Adjournment to May 18 at 1 p.m. Time is 4:11. Meeting is adjourned.